You've tuned into Stranger Than Fiction News, broadcasting live from the dark side of the planet. Breaking news, ladies and gentlemen. The presidency of Obama Hussein was a fraud. It's just come to surface on the mainstream news. We're not reporting it as if we just got this tip. This is out there in the mainstream news everywhere, being splashed everywhere. Birthers are going wild. The mainstream media is going wild. The last 8 years of the Obama administration were illegal, unlawful, and they should be punishable as well. Now, many people are wondering what is going on here with this story. Where is this information coming from? There are people that are more critical about this Kenyan birth certificate than they are of the Hawaiian birth certificate, even though you've had law enforcement officials from various states go through the Obama birth certificate with a fine-tooth comb. And they've said that, in fact, it looks like copy and paste. It looks like a Photoshop job, the Hawaiian birth certificate. And some people are saying, well, perhaps this birth certificate from Kenya is a Photoshop job. It seems a little slanted or something, they say. You know, that's the way a typewriter types back in the day, ladies and gentlemen. But I think none of this is going to be a surprise to anyone, given what we've seen, you know, in the last 8 years and what has come out during the campaign with the spirit cooking and the like, and all the things that previous administration did to thwart Christian ideology and patriots and conservatives. I think no one in their right mind doubts the fact that whatever this president was, he wasn't American, he wasn't authentic, and he was a criminal. And this is just more evidence to prove it, ladies and gentlemen. It's just more evidence to prove it. Bear with us as we have ourselves a bit of a DJ moment and set ourselves up with some fine music for your listening pleasure, as well as for our listening pleasure. We've got so much news to cover, so many things to talk about here on this 10th day of March 2017. It's a scorcher around the world, in case you're wondering about the weather. Some people are feeling a little cold in the upper northeast, but otherwise, we're gearing up for a crazy summer. Guaranteed. Guaranteed. But we're not here to talk about the weather. We're not even really here to talk about Obama and his birth certificate. I think that's the least of our troubles right now, given everything that we're up against. Now, we spent our day doing an awareness campaign on the French elections. Many of you don't really care about the French, and I understand. I understand. But this is a pivotal piece on the chessboard. And you know, France has a veto on the Security Council. They're a pivotal member of the European Union, and this candidate here wants to pull out. And this candidate here is basically the Le Pen candidate, is basically facing what Trump faced during his campaign. The entire media against him, the establishment against him, the government against him. You know, the conservative candidates right now in France are suffering attacks from what you would think was the Gestapo. You know, they're being handed indictments weeks before the elections. You just couldn't make this stuff up. Life truly is stranger than fiction, ladies and gentlemen. And this case that we're covering proves it. We were talking about the censorship on Facebook and how they are basically manipulating the French elections. And we tried to bring it to the attention of somebody out there. We linked the video to the Constitutional Council of France. So every time somebody liked or shared that video, those people over there on their Facebook, they got a notification. You gotta love technology sometimes. In any case, in this article from Breitbart, it says fake news, BBC, AFP, that's French press, Google, Facebook collude to tell voters who to trust in the French election. And it goes so much worse. It's so much worse than that. And so we're trying to, you know, raise awareness on the issue. Nobody seems to care if the Nazis are fucking running around out there in France. But that's okay. we thought we'd give it a try, even if it isn't the most interesting subject. We understand that, but you can't blame us for trying. Now, what's up with Bohemian Grove? What's up with what you're looking at here? Do you know sex offenders are coming to children to talk to them about sex? Right? They're preaching their gay thing over there so that they can have sex changes to 3-year-olds and 4-year-olds. Do you think that's okay? Do you think that's okay? That's what happened during the criminal administration of Hussein Obama. Not to mention the war crimes in the Middle East, not to mention the war crimes in Ukraine, not to mention the spirit cooking, the Pizzagate, the pay-to-play, the IRS scandal, the VA scandal. I mean, how long does the laundry list of crimes has to be before you wake up and smell the coffee out there? Ladies and gentlemen, do they have to herd you into one of these camps before you're like, oh, maybe we should have been paying attention? By that time, it's going to be too late. The time to protest is now, not when they're rounding you up into some camp somewhere. Speaking of the agenda, the post-human agenda and the like, RoboCops are out there this year. We were telling you last year they're going to start deploying RoboCops. It's coming. In the malls, at the universities. You got these RoboCops now. They look like R2-D2. We posted details on it on our Facebook feed. They're always recording. They're grabbing, they're sniffing information from phones, from hotspots, Wi-Fi, all of the like. They're recording everything. They've already caught criminals with the robots. The RoboCops are here. And this is the beginning of the rollout. And at first they're going to look like R2-D2. But then they're going to look like the T-1000. And once those T-1000s have been rolled out, it'll be too late to protest, ladies and gentlemen. Do you know who's running these iRobots and RoboCops and these major corporations, these tech companies? They're Luciferians, ladies and gentlemen. Guaranteed. So you've got Luciferians that are in charge of these corporations, of all of this technology. They're rolling out the Terminators. They're engraving, the end of humanity on the Georgia Guidestones. And people are being complacent. People are writing us like, what's going on? What's going on? It's about time you wake up. It's about time you wake up out there. You know, during this last campaign, we had people that were paid by the Democrats to go out there and beat up Americans on American soil for political reasons. That is the classic definition of terrorism. We are dealing with terrorists. That's the definition. Look it up. And people are like, oh, there's nothing to worry about. Everything's awesome. Let's go back to shopping. These are the people that are going to doom us all. Guaranteed, ladies and gentlemen. We don't have to worry about the evildoers. We have to worry about the people that are doing nothing about the evil that's out there. And it's not their fault. They are confused, indoctrinated, brainwashed because of the system that was set up by these Luciferians. And so we have a responsibility to keep waking these people up. And whatever it might be, the chemtrails, 9/11, let's start waking these people up. Let's start making another mega push to wake people up. Because together we can make a difference. Raising awareness can make a difference. And never, ever give up. Do not go quietly out into the night. Don't ever say, oh, we just can't do it. We can always do it. We know who wins at the end of this story. But we got to be part of that. We got to be part of that story. We can't just be out there watching it happen. We got to be part of that solution. We got to be part of that victory. And if you're listening to this, you can be part of that victory, because if you're listening to this, you are the resistance. And we didn't get that. We didn't make that up. We got that from Terminator. Ladies and gentlemen, people say, oh, I love that. I love that. And we didn't make that up. That was in the movie Terminator. And you know where they got that in the movie Terminator? They got it from computer scientists. They got all of that stuff from computer scientists. They didn't just make that up. They didn't just make that up. They researched the story, ladies and gentlemen. But they decided to put a happy ending on it, otherwise people would flip out. So they're like, yeah, John Connor at the end of the day, is victorious. Is victorious, and the human race prevails. If we don't start acting like John Connor and Sarah Connor out there, we aren't going to make it. Do you understand that? These evildoers, they have a plan. There's a method to their madness. Is there a method to yours? That is the question. But this evil is much worse than we think it is. It's in every institution. It's in every town, every city, every country. This is a world war against evil. It's biblical. It's the pages of the Bible playing out before your very eyes, guaranteed. And if you're still having trouble with your faith, that's because of the indoctrination. It's because of the brainwashing. Guaranteed. Guaranteed. But science absolutely proves what's in that Bible. Guaranteed. In the beginning, in the book of Genesis, they talk to you about on the first day, this happened. On the second day, this happened. On the third day, something else happened. That is a process of evolution, if you will. But the problem with modern science, when they look at how did life get here, is that they can't recreate life from some sort of primordial soup. And the reason they can't do it is because it takes information to make life. Even the simplest form of life is a marvel of nanotechnology that contains megabytes of information coded in a genetic language we call DNA. And the reason that they can't make life out of nothing is because they'd have to be able to program it. And right now, they just can't do it without using, basically what's already there. And so science absolutely proves that you cannot get something living from something not living. That is called the law of biogenesis. And so if you're still running around out there like a sheeple thinking that you evolved from some sort of chemical soup billions of years ago, you are in contradiction of scientific understanding of the natural world. And you're still in this brainwashed area that's like limbo. And until you start looking into how we got here, what is the meaning of life, you're never going to see your way out. But as soon as you wake up to what's going on in terms of that, then you start asking yourself, well, since most of the science books are lying to us about how we got here, maybe we need to start looking at books that tell us about creation. Because science is proving creation, but they don't want to tell you about it in the public schools because that's not part of the agenda, ladies and gentlemen. And so we need to address the issue for what it is. We need to start talking about these issues for what they are. And we didn't just land on this Goldilocks planet. And regardless if you believe in something or not, these evildoers are believing in something. These evildoers are practicing their religion. And their religion is the antithesis of the Christian religion. Guaranteed. That's why they're into all sorts of debauchery and deviant behavior. That's why to them evil is good and good is evil. They are practicing the opposite of our religion. And that makes them a threat. That makes them an enemy. Regardless of what we want to think about this situation, they have waged a war. And they are fighting it on every front. They are fighting it spiritually, physically, mentally. And we are being assaulted everywhere we go because they have declared war on us. And they look at us like we're the enemy. They look at us like we're the enemy. They've put in their manuals that we are their enemy. Every Christian, every patriot is a suspected domestic terrorist. And all of this stuff that is coming out there, in terms of the technology, in terms of the big data, in terms of the Skynet, it's meant to be targeting you, like the Patriot Act was meant to be targeting you. They orchestrated 9/11 so that they could roll out their Brave New World 1984 Gestapo Stasi police state. Because you're the enemy. The American people are the enemy. And the reason that you're the enemy is because these people are terrorists. And they've already brought, their plans to the physical realm. It's not just that, they're using silent weapons and they're attacking you through the food and the water and the air and the cell phone towers and the cell phones, etc. But they're actually now beating up people. They're actually targeting people for termination because of their political beliefs. And this is, and because we've allowed it to happen here, it's happening in other countries as well, with our blessing, if you will, ladies and gentlemen. The massacres that are happening in Syria and in Ukraine, that was under the direction of the Obama administration. They are war criminals. They are mass murderers. And the entire world is looking at us like we're the Nazis now. Believe that or not. Believe that or not. You think we were fighting a terrible fight against this evil during the last campaign. But for the last 8 years, the entire world has been suffering a genocide at the hands of the Obama administration, and those people have been looking at us like we're the fucking Nazis. Pardon our language. And so, we need to start recognizing the situation for what it is, and we need to start doing something about it. And that, as we were talking about yesterday, the dark side right now is basically giving us two options. They're giving us the option of, if we go with their Russian narrative, the Russians did it, let's go send troops on the Russian border, that's going to bring us into World War III. So we have option number one, which is World War III, courtesy of the Democrats, which is now being run by Obama, still Hillary, and the like. So that's option number one. We have World War III. Option number two is, if we want to get out of this mess, we basically are going to have a civil war. And that might seem like strong language, but ladies and gentlemen, right now what's going on is a silent coup d'etat. They are nibbling away at this administration. They are trying to set it up for an impeachment right away. They want to impeach, and they basically want to take over illegally. And they'd do it if they could. I don't think anybody doubts that if they had the votes to impeach Trump right now, they would do it. Common sense wouldn't matter. The will of the American people wouldn't matter. If they had the votes to do it, they would put on some sort of charade, and they would go on television and pretend like it was legitimate. Just like when Hillary came on in the debates, right? And she had the questions, and she pretended like it was legitimate. Just like when she went there to the Democratic convention last summer, and she took the nomination, even though she had cheated. What's his name? Bernie. She cheated Bernie right out of the primary. Right? But she came out there like it was authentic. They'll do whatever, they'll practice their lies in the open and pretend it's authentic. They'll put it on the news, and the news will tell you that it's for real, it's okay, don't worry, shelter in place. Just like all of their false flags, just like every operation, every Gladio B operation. This video that you're looking at here happened last March, about a year ago. The White House shooter, remember that? And they're like, yeah, they shot some dude in front of the White House. This is the video that they released. This is not a shooting. This is not a real shooting. There would be blood. We've seen, unfortunately, video of real shootings. There's tons of blood. There's no blood here. But every network came on live, breaking news, shooting at the White House. And this is what they sold the public. It's just like the debates. It's just like 9/11. It's just like everything else. They just lie. And then they use the media to propagate that lie. And they use the schools to make you believe in those lies. Their textbooks are written on their lies. And we're all forced to basically eat it. You're looking at the footage right now. White House lockdown, shooting. We've played this before. It's just like the Boston bombings. It was obvious that it was fake. But what really gave it away was the tweet where they're like, yeah, hey, there's going to be an exercise right across the street from the library. Boston Globe, April 15th, 2013. We're coming up on the 4-year anniversary of that. There will be a controlled explosion opposite the library within 1 minute as part of a bomb squad activities. Boston Globe, breaking news. And what happened just a few minutes later? There's the library. Boom, bitches! Boom! Right there. Brave New World. You couldn't make this shit up. But it's like there is case after case, and it's so in your face. It's so obvious that I just don't see how anybody could be like, oh, I don't understand. These people that are saying that they don't understand are part of the problem. Either they're complicit or the fluoride works. And it's probably a little bit of both. We don't know. In any case, there is case after case after case of Gladio B false flag events. Undoubted, undeniable, the evidence is there. And they've left the breadcrumbs there on purpose. They're laughing at us. Things are so bad that they can pull off these shady operations that are far from perfect and still just kind of brush it off, brush it aside. It's no big deal. It didn't happen. Don't worry about it. Don't worry about it. Thankfully, we have a president now who's calling all these people out and saying that, hey, they're fake news. CNN, you're fake news. Right? NBC, you're fake news. BuzzFeed, fake. All that stuff is fake. But somehow you got people like Facebook and Google that are still saying that those people are real news. Right? Okay, so you got the president of the United States saying that these media outlets are fake news, but you got these social media outlets that are saying, no, they're real. They're real. You know why they're saying that? Is because they're all in it together like a bunch of Charlie Manson groupies. Guaranteed. They're all in the same cult. The same spirit-cooking Bohemian Grove cult. Guaranteed. And we were all vindicated. For years, people were like, oh, that's crazy. For years. And then the spirit cooking videos came out. The Podesta emails came out. Bohemian Grove wasn't enough. But when that stuff came out, people started to panic. They started to panic, and they went as far as basically orchestrate a fake shooting at Comet Pizza. We got the witness that was on CNN, that was on AP. He came on to InfoWars. They asked him, hey, did you hear a shot? And the guy admitted, no shots. Yet every report, it was just like the White House shooting. Shots were fired, emergency, breaking news. It was bull. It was 100% bull, fake news, once again. But it's so bad. It's so bad that they have to keep kicking the can with more Gladio B events. And have you noticed the lull in Gladio B events? When's the last time we had one? The last time we had one was just before the election campaign really started kicking off, just before the conventions. Because they didn't want people all of a sudden bringing attention to these Gladio B events during the election campaign. And ever since the inauguration, we haven't had one yet, knock on wood. But if there is one, it's going to be a local, isolated event, and in a Luciferian town. These towns exist. There's a town in Ohio called Helltown. Why doesn't somebody explain to me why there's a town in Ohio called Helltown? If you go to Salem, Massachusetts right now, you got the water tower with a big witch on it. You got the cop cruisers with witches on it. There are hardcore occult Luciferian towns out there. Katy Perry was in the news recently. Excuse me. Katy Perry was in the news recently trying to buy a convent, and the nuns are like, this witch wants to buy our convent. And she was pictured in Salem doing her witchy stuff, as well as, coming on TV saying how she sold her soul and the like. And they're not even hiding it. You've got all sorts of celebrities that are like, yeah, they sold their souls and this and that. There's tons of videos of them saying it out there. They're not even trying to hide it. And the problem is where there's Luciferianism, there's child molestation, child rape, and child sacrifice. That is a historical fact. That is a historical fact. There are decades of research on this very topic. It's called ritualistic satanic sex abuse. And even in the 80s, during the daytime television shows, they'd be bringing people in. Yeah, they grew up Luciferian. Yeah, there's the whole thing is not our imagination. We were all vindicated, for sure during this last campaign with the Podesta emails. But this needs to be addressed for what it is, because these people are dangerous. They're eating children. They're raping children, molesting children. And on top of that, they've got their hearts and minds set on world destruction. They've engraved it in stone, and they're implementing their plans. It's not just like some kind of dream. They are implementing their plans. That's why you're seeing the chemtrails everywhere. That's why you're seeing all of the food with with pesticides and insecticides and GMOs. It wasn't like that before. People for decades, for centuries, were eating natural food, and they were healthier than they are today, believe it or not. The only thing that is keeping some people around that otherwise wouldn't be are the advances in medicine. But if it was up to the lifestyles, all of us would have pretty much a life expectancy of less than people 100 years ago. If people 100 years ago had the medicine that they have today, they'd be living to be 120 average. So, we've obviously got, there's obviously a campaign to take out as many people as possible that's active right now. This is happening right now, ladies and gentlemen. The war has already begun. Either you're waking up to it or you're still asleep. And I suppose, that is up to you. That is up to you. But we're seeing the signs of this cult and this takeover everywhere. And we're battling it every single day in our hometowns, in our states, in our country, and around the world. This is a global problem. It's a global epidemic, and it needs to be addressed for what it is. We can't just keep, they can't just keep putting out news out there and pretending like the whole spirit cooking, Bohemian Grove, Luciferian after-school programs don't exist. That these halftime shows that are just, full of this Luciferian symbolism doesn't exist. They can't keep treating us like we're idiots out there, right? But that's the only thing they can do, because they can't talk about the issues. They can't talk about these issues. But if they did, it would be a panic situation. It would be a panic situation. Imagine if all of a sudden CNN and ABC started making sense like we do. There'd be panic. But that's not their agenda, because they're part of the problem. They're part of this Luciferian cult, and they're trying to spread their religion. And they're trying to maintain power. And they're trying to maintain the eugenics programs that are out there. They've got a whole plan. They're in this club and we're not in it. And so we need to wake up and smell the coffee here. We need to smell what's going on. Because if we don't, we're gonna be taken by surprise, marched into these camps with these Terminators that are rolling out as we speak. And people are just gonna be like, "Hey, what's going on? We didn't see this coming." And by then it'll be too late. So I know that everybody that's watching this show understands that, and it's almost becoming like old news to you. It should never be old news. What's going on in the planet right now should never be old news. And we should never move away from this orgy of evidence. We should never be wanderlusting for even more stuff. There's already enough out there. There's already enough out there, and we should be shocked and offended. And we should be demanding that something happens instead of pretending that this isn't going on. So we need to, we need to stop wanderlusting for better evidence, for more evidence. It's already out there. The spirit cooking connection, it's photographic, it's video, it's enough to convict. Because where there's this kind of activity, there's other sorts of nefarious activity. Every FBI profiler will tell you as much. Every clinical psychologist will tell you as much. That where you're seeing these signs of Luciferianism, that's trouble. That's trouble. That means there's criminal activity going on. People are in danger. Do you not understand that? So we need to keep raising awareness on this issue, and basically, we need to call in to the local stations. People are starting to do it. We're getting messages back. It's fun. Call into the local station, bitch them out, tell them, listen, why aren't you covering the spirit cooking? Why aren't you covering Bohemian Grove? Why aren't you covering the geoengineering? Does the sky look normal to you these days? Does that look normal? Why aren't you covering the GMOs? Why aren't you covering the Georgia Guidestones? And the reason why they're not is because of what you're looking at here. They are weapons of mass deception. And they are protecting the weapons of mass destruction. The silent weapons that they're using for their silent war. But give them hell. Be the angry customer. And go to the city council meetings. Bring some friends. Have some fun. Go out there and be rowdy. Be rowdy like a pep rally. And cheer for your side. And make your voice heard. and make it trendy. That, you know, don't go out there and be like a hardcore fucking lunatic, like these people that you're looking at here. Pardon the language, but you know, go out there and make it trendy, make it snazzy, make it style, and that way people will want to, you know, fight the tyranny with you. Don't make it seem like it's all like fanatic and crazy like the snowflakes out there right now. Make it cool, you know. But definitely be loud, be rambunctious, be rowdy. Stomp, you know, stomp, clap, whistle. You know, bring a crowd, bring some signs, think of something, videotape that, send it our way. Record your conversations with the local news. You know, we reached out to the local news out there. Well, actually, we reached out to a bunch of people, law enforcement, local news. They don't want to talk to us. They don't want to talk to us. They're afraid of the truth, ladies and gentlemen. But eventually, if it's coming at them from every direction, they won't have a choice. They won't be able to hide. You know, they can shut the door and lock themselves in their office if they want to. But as soon as they step outside, there should be like a crowd, a mob out there demanding justice. Look at our planet. Look at the sky. Look at what's in the food. Look at what's in the water. Look at what they're teaching kids in school. Look at what's on the television. Have you ever seen so much fluff and so much sex and violence? What are they trying to do? Fuck up an entire generation? Yeah, absolutely. That's exactly what they're trying to do. You know, we need to, you know, instead of like supporting their cause, instead of supporting, you know, the crap that comes out of the TV these days, you know, tell them that it's unacceptable. Tell them that you're unhappy, that you'll be boycotting their sponsors. Write their sponsors a letter. If you see, you know, just take some time, make some chain letters. You know, just make one letter and then just change the dear sir part. You know, and just start emailing them out to these different corporations. They all have a link, contact us, and they're all forced to read it. In these corporations, they're all forced to read it. And even if it doesn't make it to the higher ups, the people that are forced to read them are going to be so tired of reading that they may want to get a different job, or they may want to say something. And you never know. Sometimes you get a good person in those corporations that may actually make a difference. But they need the leverage. Just like these, you know, these politicians that want to bring up 9/11 truth, they need the leverage from the public. They need public support to be able to stand out on a limb and call out the tyranny for what it is. The local news needs your support. They need to know that if they go out on a limb and speak the truth, that you're going to have their backs. So, you know, we need to be active on these fronts. We need to be communicating with everyone that we can and making them aware that what's going on right now is unacceptable. And what's going on at CERN is unacceptable. Why is it that you've got a secret nuclear research facility with a statue dedicated to destruction? That's the dedication. Destruction, world destruction. It's like the Georgia Guidestones. It's as if they made a copy of the Georgia Guidestones. They brought it to this secret nuclear research facility. They're having pagan rituals there, and they're doing who knows what over there, and nobody seems to care. You know, people are like, oh, Mandela effect. Sure, but what about this? They're basically telling you that they want to blow up the planet, and nobody's trying to stop them. Why aren't we sending special forces out there? You know, we should almost be occupying Europe, because it's gone 100% rogue, and they're going to end up being a danger to the planet. Their economy it might actually be bigger than ours, to a certain extent. At least their banking system is. And they've got tons of money to be fueling all sorts of projects that we have no idea. And this CERN facility is sitting on who knows how much antimatter that's going to be used, that's going to be weaponized. Who knows what they're doing with this stuff? And it'd be different, you know, if it was just like a flower garden, you know, if it was just like a rose bush, if it was just like, you know, who knows? But as soon as they start erecting statues to destruction and pagan religions and things like that, we should all be concerned. Because, you know, the clinical psychologists, the FBI profilers will tell you all the same thing. Where you're seeing Luciferian activity, you are seeing some hardcore criminal activity. Guaranteed. Guaranteed. So we should all be concerned as soon as we start seeing pagan occult symbolism, whether it be at the secret nuclear research facilities, whether it be on the streets of Washington, D.C., whether it be on the television. As soon as that stuff gets shown, that should be a red flag. That should be a red flag. At the very least, there should be equal airtime. You know, if the channel Fox wants to have a show called Lucifer out there, they should have a show called Moses or Noah or Abraham or something out there as well, shouldn't they? But instead they just keep pushing this evil agenda, and they don't stop, and it's dangerous. Everybody with an education will tell you that this is dangerous. It's not like, oh, we're just getting our kicks by living this fantasy of like, oh, it's good versus evil out there, and that's it. It's just like this fiction. This is for real. This is for real. Any victim of this kind of occult activity will tell you this is for real. And there are more victims than you think. Just because it hasn't touched you personally doesn't mean it doesn't exist. You probably never met anybody that survived the Holocaust. I have. I can tell you that shit existed. There's people out there that are like, oh, there was no gas chambers. There were gas chambers out there. People died. People died. I hear a lot of people saying, oh, this and that. Obviously you've never been out there. You haven't done any research. You saw one video where they showed a door that was painted over, and they're like, look, see, this door isn't the original door. No fucking shit, it's not the original door. You know what I mean? And so all of a sudden people are like, oh no, there's no gas chambers. Oh no, nobody died. There were like 50 million people that died during World War II. Millions in those concentration camps. But the reason that there was a world war is because those people were into the occult. And every time the occult and tyranny takes over, it looks the exact same way. Police state, endless wars, this and that. Go look up the documentary, Hitler and the Occult, from the History Channel. They lay it out for you. Undeniable. And of course it makes sense. What happens when the occult are in charge? Of course it makes sense that they were killing people, that there was genocide. And that's exactly what's going on today. We're seeing the exact same thing today. There are genocides in the Middle East that nobody has been held accountable for. There's a genocide going on in Ukraine. Nobody's being held accountable for. Funded and paid and protected by Obama, who wasn't even American. Born. Honestly, the guy spent like most of his youth in like some other country. And it's just shady. The whole story is shady. His whole presidency was shady. Everything that came out of it is shady. Hardcore. And so, the tyranny is back. It was back. It came back. And it's been here for a while. And it's looking more and more like Nazi Germany out there. With modern weapons, with modern means, with modern ways of killing people. And so it's much more dangerous. And now these people want to roll out Terminators, and we should be like, oh, that's okay. No problem there. Let's just let them do whatever they want to do. You know what I mean? Let's just let them do whatever they want to do. No big deal. I mean, this picture that you're seeing here is totally normal. This is the kind of thing that should be going on in at the school cafeteria. Forget the mystery meat. Let's just dice up, cake like this. Or hey, let's do a little spirit cooking. Bring the kids. Check out the Podesta emails. Check all of that stuff out. There's been tons of stuff that's been released, on WikiLeaks and the like. And some of it is some of it is what it is. But there's definitely something going on out there, folks. And it's not your imagination. But they're doing their darndest so that you don't investigate, so that you're not worried about it, so you're not focusing about it. They're doing their best to distract, deceive, and deny. They don't want you thinking about what's going on with creepy Biden. They don't want you thinking about what's going on with Bohemian Grove. They don't want you thinking about the GMOs. They don't want you thinking about the slow kill, the extermination programs, and the like. They don't want you thinking about that. Instead, they want you thinking about sports. Who watched the Super Bowl? Who's getting ready for Major League Baseball? Anyone? Anyone watching hockey? Anyone? How about frisbee golf? Let's go play some frisbee golf. Are you serious? You got these child molesters everywhere, and you want to go play frisbee golf and smoke weed and pretend like nothing's happening? Wake up out there. Wake up. There's some fucked up shit going on. People are crazy. We're going to cover some news, and then we're going to close this off, but we probably got about, I don't know, at least 20 or 30 articles that we should cover. Let's see. Philadelphia, some Pizzagate news. Teen allegedly forced to have sex with 1,000 men for over 2 years, held captive. A teenager, young girl, just freed. This stuff is happening everywhere. And sometimes it's 13, like Milo and Bill Mayer, Maher, or whatever his name is. They're like, yeah, 13-year-olds. Yeah, well, this is part of the problem. Let's see what else we got in the news. See if we can find a better video to look at while we're ranting about this stuff. But these Luciferians, let me tell you, they're trouble. They're trouble, ladies and gentlemen. Let's see. Germany and EU to legalize pedophilia, and with it, child pornography as well. And they're even recommending massaging, 1-year-olds and 2-year-olds sexually out there. I'm telling you, this is the dark side of the planet. You guys just don't understand. And these people are building up an army, a super state, and all sorts of crazy weapons with antimatter, and people are just like, yeah, no big deal. Sure. Let's see. Germany pushes for greater surveillance with newly adopted regulations. So that's just out on RT right now. And it's kind of ironic with all of the other things that just came out recently with the WikiLeaks and the like. But they're just passing more legislation. They need more surveillance. And this is part of like their problem reaction solutionism. They'll leave the borders wide open, flood it with like people that just came from a war zone. Then they say, oh, we need more surveillance. We need more police state. And they're building up an army. And what they failed to accomplish with the first 2 world wars, they've been able to accomplish with this European Union. And that's why we're pushing this French election, because we can scuttle this whole New World Order, Fourth Reich kind of thing going on over there with this election. So even if you don't care, take a little time to gain interest in it, because it's like it's the next big thing here that's happening. And obviously the mainstream media doesn't want you thinking about it. They don't want you thinking about the French elections. Who likes the French anyways? Yeah, well, it's not the point. The point is, do you want to help the dark side, or do you want to fight the tyranny? You got to make that choice. The Bishop of Rome signals support for married priests. It's about time. I tell you, it says right there in Timothy 2 that a bishop, a good bishop, will be able to have raise his family correctly, be a sound person. I'm paraphrasing there, but it explicitly says in the Bible, in the New Testament, that bishops should be married. So of course, if bishops should be married, perhaps priests should be married too, and there wouldn't be all of this child molestation everywhere. So let's see what they do there. Let's see what else we got in the news. There's a story in the New York Post how the rich are going to escape New York City when the worst hits, and that's a waste of time. Let's see. Claims of sex orgies, prostitution, and porn videos shake Catholic Church in Italy. That's something that basically ties into that's why they should be married. Let's see. Crime-fighting robots could join the Texas Police Department. That's being reported by the Star Telegram, and you're starting to see them everywhere. They're starting to mass produce these R2D2s, reading license plates, sniffing the cell phones, recording, listening to everybody. And this is just the first step. Let's see. Then we've got the birth certificate that we covered. Let's see. Obviously, we've covered things that were going on in the Delphi case, recent developments. They actually brought up the possibility of there being an occult link to that murder, and they're being super hush hush about the murder scene. We haven't seen anything about the autopsy, and we're pretty sure that crime scene must have had some occult things associated with it. But we'll see how the crime fighters do out there, but we're certainly not holding our breath, unfortunately. The case has gone so cold, they've come to the public at least 3 different times, but they really haven't provided the information necessary for the public to help. They've really they've shown us a blurry picture and a sound that nobody can hear. We're having some techs kind of try to work out the background noise. Some people are suggesting there might be an accent. We're not sure about that, but it would be interesting to have a cleaned up version. You think the FBI could release a cleaned up version of that audio tape, but of course we haven't had that from them, so that makes us fairly suspicious, among other things. But please do look into our previous broadcasts on the Delphi investigation. That's the murder of 2 young girls. More Pizzagate, Pedogate related material there. We're still waiting for more information on the servers related to the to Obamagate and the whole wiretapping the Trump organization, Trump headquarters at Trump Tower, New York. And what became obvious to us is that when they got General Michael Flynn out in their silent coup, Hillary retweeted a tweet that said, "What goes around comets around." And she's obviously checking her Facebook and stuff too. And so this whole server thing that's at the center of this wiretapping obviously looks like a hit job. It looks like it was framed, and and in their mind they're like, yeah, they got slammed with Servergate. Now they want to bring up some Servergate too. And so this is just like, this is just some kind of fairy tale that they've made up. But hopefully they'll be able to pursue it, with common sense. Because right now there is just no common sense in Washington. There is no common sense on the television. There's just no common sense anywhere. It's all just BS. It's just BS. And I think that's why we need to start calling these people out. And some people are, they're starting, you see the videos where they're like, yelling at the media and stuff like that, letting them know that's what needs to happen. These people need to be vilified for what they've done to our country. They are villains and terrorists, and they aid and abet terrorists and who knows what else out there. Let's see. What else we got in the news as we're scanning through what is out there. But let's see. Just buying time until we find something else in the hamper that we haven't talked about. They've discovered 700-year-old Knights Templar complex recently. They're also discovering other things, which we'll probably get into one of these days about civilizations and things like that. The lost city of Atlantis and what's going on with the Nazca lines and so on and so forth. But we just kind of want to cover some of the news that we haven't covered here before. We really got sidetracked for a couple days with this Obamagate, wiretapping, and the like. So we've just got a ton of stuff on that, and I suppose we could have been covering other things. I mean, Fukushima is still leaking. Trump has just sent B-2 bombers or B-52s out to South Korea. They're sending in more troops into Syria. But thankfully the Russians were there to mop up Obama's catastrophe, right? And we don't know exactly what's going on with covert operations, but there's been a huge string of Russians that have been diplomats and the like that have been killed. And if we had to bet and point the finger at somebody, it would probably be the fraud President Obama that basically ruled in tyranny for the last 8 years and transformed our country into what it is today. At least played a big part in that, plus doubling our debt, leaving the borders wide open. And they wanted World War III, and they're coming back for more, these people. Enemies of the state, to say the least. And it's unfortunate that you're just not seeing that anywhere on the news. It's so obvious, and it's sad that we have to be the ones that are saying it, and we're the only ones that are saying it that up front for what it is. It's not about being mean. We're not looking to really to see them rot in jail. We'd like to just see all these people deported to Canada or the UK or Haiti or something. And a lot of those countries don't want them, but we got to put them somewhere. And it's and that kind of brings us to Antarctica. We don't know what's really going on there. There's rumors of mega cities out there. There's rumors of all sorts of things going on out there, as if they're preparing for something. and that would be the ideal place to be if the Earth gets slow cooked, as we're suspecting with the terraforming. So be on the lookout for activities in Antarctica. We've already discovered about a huge list of domains that are running out of there. I mean, it looks like a civilized continent, not an abandoned wasteland, in terms of its digital footprint. So we're very suspicious about what's going on in Antarctica, especially as the world seems to be warming up. And some people are still, debating the issue. Obviously, is it natural? Is it unnatural? Just remember, the Permian extinction that wiped out like 85% of life was a natural phenomenon. So there are natural extinction level events that have nothing to do with comets and meteors and the like. Just a change in the atmosphere. And so, it seems like if that kind of thing were to happen again, the natural Permian extinction event, which can be cyclical. They've already basically worked out how this happened, and it looks like it's happening again. And if it does happen again, where temperatures rise all of a sudden naturally to a certain level, the best place to be is going to be Antarctica. And it's already starting to thaw out. I mean, the ice shelf is basically on its way out, and they're just going to be able to just set up shop over there, and the rest of us are just going to boil off this planet like the sheeple that we are. Let's see, New York Times reports transgender models find a home. The New York Times does its best, the New Babylon Times does its best to promote everything that is Luciferian, wicked, and evil. And let us never forget the story of Sodom and Gomorrah. And it doesn't matter, how much propaganda they put out there and the like, and how they try to paint it. From a man's perspective, two men plowing each other is disturbing, and you would have to be mentally disturbed to be doing something like that. And it's not about, hate. It's just calling a duck a duck. There are crazy people out there, and we all have gay friends, and they will all tell you. They will all tell you that they were Milo'd at 13 or something like that, or even younger, and they became gay. Just about every gay person out there had some sort of inappropriate sexual assault that was performed on them as a youngster, and that's why they ended up gay. It was just became part of their thing. But otherwise, this is not normal behavior. Otherwise, everybody would be gay, and there wouldn't even need to be sexes. Everybody would be man or male or female or something. We could all be gay, but that's not how nature works. You can't screw, a light bulb into another light bulb. You need a socket for that. And anything else is just disturbing. I'd like to see two light bulbs going at it. Not really, but you know what I mean. Let's see. I think that pretty much covers most of the news. Right now, there's other things floating around. Be sure to check out our website, stfnews.com. We've got about 300 different sources streaming in there in real time. It's the best aggregate site that you'll find. It's super interesting, super fun, and every time you go there, it looks different. Just the way it's set up, and it changes every few minutes. So be sure to check that out. stfnews.com. Like Stranger Than Fiction News. stfnews.com. Check that out. That's going to conclude this broadcast. Appreciate everybody tuning in. And of course, if you're listening to this, you are the resistance.